Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this morning's webinar. I can see our attendee room beginning to fill up. It's fantastic to have you all here with us this morning. Sticking with the Great Place to Work tradition, I will start with a weather update from Mayo, and it's an unusually clear, sunny, and bright morning. So that's great. Hopefully, that'll set the tone and the energy now for our webinar this morning. Delighted to have you all with us. As usual, it'd be great as you join if you could pop onto the chat and let us know if you can hear us, you can see us, and let us know where it is that you're beaming in from today. We'd love to get a sense of where people are joining from. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Fania Stoney, and I'm a business development strategist here in Great Place to Work. And I've been part of the team that spearheaded Best Workplaces Women over the last 6 years. So it's really grown over the course of that time, and really excited to share some of that insight with you today. Brilliant. Thanks, Kelly. Nice and bright in Dublin. That's good to hear. Although it is always best to hear when it's raining in Dublin and it's sunny in Mayo, because it's such an anomaly and not very common. So that's great. We've got from Athlone, Louth, Wexford, Galway, Tipperary, Cork. My goodness, I think we're hitting nearly every part of the country. That's brilliant. Thank you all so much for being here. This is my first webinar I've hosted since I've come back from my maternity leave. So be kind and bear with me, as I might be a little bit rusty. But today is all about empowering women at work, and hearing from two incredible women, Renee and Maja, who are going to take us through their own career journeys and the supports that their organisation, PepsiCo and Allianz Darta, have in place. We're going to be chatting all things flexible work options, the elusive balance between personal and professional responsibilities. We're all working mums on the call today, so we'll be able to give you a bit of a flavour of that. And then also ways to future-proof career, things like continuous learning, support networks, and how women can remain competitive in our fast-changing work environments as well. Before we jump into the meat of it, I'm going to do a small amount of housekeeping. So firstly, we really encourage your participation throughout this webinar. So a great start for letting us know where you're beaming in from, but please keep popping your thoughts and comments into the chat. If you have any questions, do put them in for us. And we'll be running a couple of polls and that kind of stuff throughout the session as well. So really intrigued to see what your answers are going to be there. And we will have time and space to answer some of the questions as they come in. So do keep interacting with us. And Cassie, I can see your first one in there. You will get all the slides, you'll get the recording, the whole lot. So feel free to share far and wide with the women in your organisation afterwards. Okay, so a couple of quick announcements from our side. This year's awards deadlines are fast approaching. So anyone on the call who wants to be in the mix for both Best Workplaces and Best Workplaces for Women next year, get in touch as soon as possible to make sure you're in and completed before the deadline. And you can book a session with Brian through the link that Marina has just shared in the chat there. So if anybody wants to squeak in this year, we'd love to be working with you. Great. Okay, our Employer Branding Summit is suddenly just around the corner. And I'm hoping to see lots of you there too. I know we haven't actually hit Halloween yet, and there is a Christmas tree on that picture. But if you could just look past that and have a look at those kind of fantastic organisations that are involved. We have some really fantastic content all around what they're doing in the employer branding space across a range of different topics. Come and join us. The last of those tickets are available, so don't miss out. I'll leave the QR code there for a couple of minutes. But yeah, it's a fantastic session. We hosted another one back in January. We had a great turnout, and it was a great morning. And this one is proving to be even better. So make sure you join us there. And again, QR code there on the slide, and Marina's popped a link into the chat as well. Okay. Last week we announced, in partnership with Loretta Dignam and her team in the Menopause Hub, this year's Menopause Workplaces of Excellence. We had a wonderful evening in the Royal College of Physicians, and it was just a fantastic evening of inspiration, of celebration. And you can see the organisations who were recognised this year. In particular, I'd like to congratulate our own Best Workplaces, and those who are working with Consilient Health, Distilled, Genesis, the IRFU, Tato, Trigon, and also the Sleeve Russell, who won the Best Champion Network Award as well. So huge congratulations to them. It really shone a light on the fantastic work that's happening around supporting women with menopause and perimenopause in the workplace, and how organisations are really trailblazing here in Ireland. We're not waiting for the rest of the world to catch up. If anybody wants to know more about this or any more details, get in contact with me directly afterwards. Be more than happy to take you through all of that. Right, I think that's enough announcements. So let's get into the meat of today. So both of the women joining us today are currently working in best workplaces for women. To put that into context around what that achievement means, we work with hundreds of organisations here in Ireland. Some of those go on to be certified as a great place to work. Then we have those who go on to be recognised as a best workplace. So that's kind of another level up in our recognition. And then an even smaller premium group go on to be recognised as a best workplace for women. I suppose, what does it take? We look at the overall experience that women are having within the workplace. We look at the variance of that experience compared with men, and we actually look at that in both directions. We look at the number of women in management and leadership roles. And then we look at some very specific data elements. So we look at, do women feel that they're being treated fairly? What's their perceptions around career development, promotions? What's their experience of flexibility and support? And then also some manager behaviors as well. And that gives us a really good insight as to where people are within those organizations. For any of our current clients who are taking part in the process, there's nothing in addition you need to do. We include everybody's auto enrolled into this one, and we'll be in touch kind of, I suppose, later in the new year about the 2025 recognition. But anyone who does want additional information, feel free again to get in touch with me afterwards. I'd also really encourage you to have a read of our report. We speak to a range of women from a range of organisations who have been recognised as the best workplace for women, and also provide some overall insight as well, and some in-depth experience into what that is. For those of you who have read the report and have seen maybe our piece with the glass as well, please no spoilers ahead of my chat with Renee. So Renee was one of the women who took part in that. And I'm really delighted to start introducing her. So I'm going to stop sharing so Renee can stick up her own slides. And while she does that, I'm just going to give you some context. So Renee Griffin is the Global Quality Transformation Senior Manager with PepsiCo. Sorry, just get that out of my way. With PepsiCo Global Concentrate Solutions, she's an experienced leader in quality management, food safety, manufacturing operations. She leads design, execution, and transformation strategy in the quality space, and she has a really specific passion around embed and sustain. She's been in manufacturing operations for a while, and she's always been an advocate of the experience for women in the workplace, especially in an environment where they've been the minority. So as a member of the PGCS Women's Inclusion Network, she's designed and developed a programme focused on empowering and retaining frontline female staff. It's really admirable work going on there. Renee herself has had such a fascinating career journey across her time with PepsiCo, and I can't wait to delve into that today. So Renee, welcome, and thank you so much for being with us today. I don't think there's anybody on the call who don't know who PepsiCo are, but before we launch into our own journey, do you want to give us a little bit of context about the organisation and sports and everything that you've got in place?
Absolutely. And before I do, thank you very much. That was a big intro. So hopefully I live up to all of that, Fania.
And more.
But great to be invited here today, and great to hear about how other women are navigating their career and personal lives at the same time. So looking forward to it. So PepsiCo has been in Ireland for over 50 years. I've been working in PepsiCo myself for 21 years. And I'm married to Ger, and I have 4 children, George, Romy, Hugh, and Quiva, all spanning in ages from 16 down to 4. So
that is a busy house, really.
It's a busy, noisy house. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So PepsiCo is a global brand. Hopefully most or all of the people on the call would have heard of PepsiCo. It generates $86 billion in net revenue globally, and we have over 500 brands. We span across 200 countries and territories, and we have over 300,000 employees. Wow. We have $22 billion brands, the logos of which you can see on the bottom half of the screen. You may be familiar with some or all of these, and some of these brands are manufactured in our Ireland sites. So the story of PepsiCo in Ireland spans 50 years, and we're actually celebrating a 50-year anniversary this year. So in 1974, our Little Island manufacturing site opened with 30 employees. And over the next 50 years, there was multiple expansions through the building of 2 other manufacturing facilities in Cork to support snack and beverage production, as well as the introduction of International Beverage Lab, the moving of the global headquarters to Cork, the introduction of Research and Development Centre, and most recently the introduction and the move of international beverages to Dublin. Recent investments have seen a large manufacturing expansion last year in Cork site, and our R&D centre expansion as well. So as I've mentioned, we have a few locations in Ireland. We were in Cork for a long time and have branched out to Dublin. So we're co-located now with 3 manufacturing sites, an R&D centre, a headquarters, and our international beverage offices. So in Ireland, that means we have over 1,200 employees, and we have our sites and our global beverages and ESSA commercial groups in Dublin. So that is a brief introduction to PepsiCo Global and PepsiCo Cork.
And are you okay, Renee? Like, I know it is a big struggle when people go from just Cork to Cork and Dublin. Like, are you all right, or do we need to have a totally separate session about that?
It's been a bit stressful, to be honest. You know, we really did like having Pepsi in Cork, you know, and now we're Cork and not Cork. So
honestly, I swear there's a theme in the Great Place to Work webinars. We just can't get away from Cork. Like, I'm doing my best to try and get the Mayo thing, but it always comes up. So
it always comes back to Cork. But no, we're happy to share. We're happy to share and to branch out. So yeah.
So it's a huge operation, multi-site, you know, lots of people, lots going on. I suppose I'm kind of interested to know, tell me a little bit about the supports that you have in place, you know, for women in the workplace. What does that look like, and how does PepsiCo manage that here in Ireland?
Sure. So I suppose for me, for my own story, I feel like I grew up in Pepsi because I joined as a graduate, and I've celebrated or gone through a lot of my big major life events, you know, while working in Pepsi. I met Jer. We had our family of 4 children over 11 years. So key to me has been the flexibility, you know, flexible work opportunities that the company provide, that shows their willingness to adapt to employees' personal circumstances. So for myself, being able to do the school runs, you know, something simple like that, availing of parental leave. And I'm an only child, so hybrid working means that I can check in with my parents throughout the working week as well. So, you know, PepsiCo offers maternity leave and flexible return to work options to new mothers. And the hybrid working really does help support people through their different roles, career stages, and life stages as well.
Yeah, it's a big one. And as you say, you've really, I suppose, grown up with them as they've grown too, right? So you've seen how they've expanded and how they've brought more people on board, and what, I suppose, the development of that support over time as well, and what that's meant at different stages.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely from a future proofing point of view, you know, Pepsi have really guided me through my career. I've worked in 3 different functions, starting in research and development, then into quality and into manufacturing. And through that time, I've received further educational development, personal development through leadership programs, career development conversations, and it's really set me up to build my career, understand key competencies and core leadership skills, identifying my strengths and leveraging those, and also what I need to work on to be able to drive my career forward. And also, you know, from a future proofing point of view, this year our employee resource group, Women's Inclusion Network, partnered with our employee wellbeing group
Oh,
called
wow.
How Are You Doing? To do a series of seminars on menopause awareness and education. Another one is actually happening today. And that's been really important to promote employee retention in the midlife stages as well.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, it was as I mentioned there at the start last Thursday, I mean, that was such a huge theme, was organizations have invested so heavily in that cohort, right? And then, making sure that we're
Absolutely.
matching that with the adequate, the support that people need at that stage, and making sure we're doing that broader education. But a lot of organizations have also spoken about, well, there's a support for the women, but it's also husbands and dads
Absolutely.
and
Yes.
sons and the whole thing, right? And
Colleagues and yeah.
bringing everybody along together, and that is so important.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then, so, you can get a really good flavor there of those supports, and based in your experience of them. I suppose, as we said, PepsiCo is recognized as best workplace for women this year. Can you tell me a little bit about what the impact of that was, maybe internally, externally? How did that go for you guys?
Yeah, no, it was great to get that recognition. We're always continuously reviewing our policies to ensure that they benefit everyone and all employees. But it was especially great to be recognized this year because we have introduced some new benefits, such as adoption leave, surrogacy leave, and fertility leave.
Oh, wow.
And have launched a program called Carrot as well to kind of complement these new leaves and policies, and to provide personalized guidance for people going through fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, adoption leave, surrogacy, perimenopause and menopause and more. So it's great to get the recognition from Great Places to Work, because of all of the ongoing work and improvements that we're working through. There is a diverse gender respect and safety policy here in PepsiCo as well, and there's a zero tolerance to discrimination. So it is a journey. It's something we're always working on around gender parity, pay equity, fostering a diverse and promoting a diverse workplace. So from that point of view, it really is a great place to work for women in PepsiCo. So we feel that. So definitely we had a bit of a celebration, very
Good. I'm
happy
glad
about
to
it.
hear it.
So
That's
yeah,
the whole
made a
point.
deal of it, definitely. So yeah,
That's brilliant. So that kind of internal morale and that kind of piece, and
absolutely.
and then
Yes.
from a hiring perspective, really, like, I mean, and maybe you know, or maybe you don't. Has it been something that you've been able to promote from a bringing talent in point of view?
Definitely, I would imagine from a talent acquisition point of view, that would be front and center from a recognition point of view. So I don't have any stats with me right now on whether
Yeah.
that had bumped it up, but all of these recognitions do help in attracting in females, and we do have year on year improvements in attracting in females to the operations space, for example, which these kind of recognitions really help with as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Um, okay, and thanks for all that, and thanks for sharing all of that. And there's comments coming in already. Great work being done, and wanting to know more, right?
Great.
So let's go back to your own experience in PepsiCo. So you'd say yourself, you had the bulk of your career there. You've navigated kind of your own professional development and personal development throughout that time. I'd love to know a little bit more about that. What's that look like? You're talking about changing your role, changing the part that you've been involved in. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so PepsiCo is a great company if you like changing, if you like moving roles, if you like to be able to jump across functions, they're very supportive of that, as a company, to help someone grow in the organization. So I've definitely done a good bit of jumping around the place myself, I think.
We like to hear, yeah.
So, as I said, I started as a science graduate. So
Yeah.
my first few years at Pepsi were working in different labs, and really getting a very strong technical foundation, and learning the product portfolio. This was a period of, it was a steep learning curve, getting to know the company culture, learning the business code, as they say. And it did set me up for future roles. And in that time, I was able to complete a course in supply chain management through the Irish Management Institute,
Oh, great.
and also in quality management with UCC. So in 2009, then after the birth of my first child, George, I got the opportunity to move to a headquarters role. So this was a global role. I was a quality coordinator. And I got to work across our 9 manufacturing locations with
Oh,
all of the
wow.
quality teams, and also with the research and development brand contacts. And this role was really around building a network, developing strong relationships, fostering integrity and trust with people who I've never met in person, to be able to collaborate effectively and deliver results. So I spent 5 years in that role, and in that time I had 2 other babies, Romy and Hugh, and also a secondment role where I got the opportunity to refresh and roll out a new sensory program globally.
Wow.
So, so this really set me up for my next role. I did feel the pull back into operations. I went to a dual role, lab supervisor and a quality engineer. This role in 2015 was a good grounding in people management. But actually, in the same year, I was given the opportunity to cover maternity leave. And this was a big leap for me. So I covered the Ireland Technical Associate Manager role. And I was responsible for all of the Ireland labs, good
Wow.
laboratory practice. And then the following year after that, once the mat leave cover ended, I applied successfully for the quality manager role in our Carrigaline manufacturing facility. And this was actually a dual role as well. So I was also the Ireland compliance manager. So I was responsible for all of the Ireland's.
Is there anything you haven't done, really? I mean, that is
Yeah,
incredible.
that period was definitely, I think I did about 5 roles in 2 years. So, definitely accelerated growth in that period. So,
Yeah.
but great roles for learning around decision making, crisis management, all of the day-to-day decisions that have to be made by a quality manager. But in the food safety space, a very interesting time as well, where we had to become compliant to new FDA regulations and be FDA audit ready. So, great role. Learned a lot. And then in my next role in 2018, moved back to headquarters again,
Okay.
this time in the capacity of a global quality engineer, where I had to work on global issues, resolution, ensuring supply, pulling the right teams of people together to resolve any issues that we had, as well as developing and rolling out quality control programs across the sites. So I'm nearly finished after, as I
No,
mentioned,
it's
there's been a
really,
lot of
really
roles.
fascinating hearing it all
Yeah.
through. Yeah.
But yeah, so after a brief secondment and my 4th maternity leave with Quiva and of course COVID, I applied for the operations manager role in our Carrigaline manufacturing site. So I went back to Carrigaline again. This really took me out of my comfort zone. It was a move into a brand new function for me. And I was responsible for all production related activities on the site, as well as process improvement and operational excellence, and a large team to manage. So really for me, it was around developing skills and motivating a large team to action, being able to deliver results to target and on time, and being agile to adapt to changes in customer demand, supply chain and resourcing issues. So in that time, I also completed a course in employee relations, So in partnership with Pepsi and Dublin Technical University.
Yeah.
Most recently, I've moved back to headquarters again. You can see a pattern emerging here.
Like
Yeah,
over back.
absolutely. Yeah, like a boomerang. They can't get rid of me in one place or the other. So I moved back into the quality function into a strategic role. So very different in nature to operations, where I'm the senior manager for quality transformation. So I'm responsible for delivering transformational change and project execution for our quality organization, and also for supporting business transformational change in PepsiCo. So that's me. That's where I am at the moment. That's
Wow.
a whistle stop tour.
I tell you, that has been some career journey, Renee. That's incredible. And the thing that went off in my head is like, I wonder, was global resolution across PepsiCo harder or easier than resolution within your own home with four children?
I would say easier.
No,
Because
it's
in work, people tend to be compliant, you know. In work, nobody listens to me, or in home, nobody
yeah.
listens to me.
I mean,
So
jeepers,
yeah,
if you
I would.
can tell me how to make a 3-year-old compliant, I'd be really, really interested in that now, I have to
I
say.
haven't cracked that nut yet, so I'll let you know.
And I suppose across that journey, were there, key moments, key leaders that were important? Like, what were the things that I suppose had the biggest support to you during that time?
Absolutely. Yeah. In my career, I've had a lot of very strong female and male role models who've mentored me, some formally and some informally, throughout my career stages, and have definitely shaped who I am today and where my career is at. And I would like to pass that forward as well. So this year our employee resource group, the Women's Inclusion Network, relaunched our peer mentoring circles program called Lean In. And we're actually expanding that to our frontline population of women as well. I feel that is really important because in my time in operations, it became obvious that there is a way to go in ensuring that females are empowered to grow within the operations organisation and to achieve parity there across the different roles and levels. And this program will start to address that.
Brilliant.
So that's really key, I think, and mentorship, both informal and formal, has been a key part to my development, I think, and other people as well, to help empower them to move forward.
The thing that really strikes me about your story as well is seizing the opportunity. So, we,
Absolutely.
we can't wait for everything just to come to us, right? We have to go after it too, and take those moments and go in with 2 feet and hope you land somewhere at some stage.
Absolutely, yeah. You can't plan out when an opportunity will arise, and as you know yourself, when you're balancing home life and building a family and building a career at the same time, not everything happens perfectly. You just can't plan it that
Yeah.
way. So,
Yeah.
it's really about recognizing when an opportunity is presented to you first off, and then taking that opportunity.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, I think I can speak from everyone in the audience today. I mean, what a role model, really. Like, you've just done it all, balancing progression and education and motherhood. Like, it's phenomenal. And I'm going to launch a quick poll because I'm kind of interested to see
Hmm.
within the organizations on today, what their own perspective around female role models is in their own organizations around leadership positions. So I'm just going to launch that there. And people can kind of give us a sense of where they are. And I suppose that leads me to ask you, but Renee, so now you as leader, like you're responsible for a lot of people now and that kind of piece. Are there key elements that you're making sure that you're doing now to kind of look after your own people in your own team?
Yeah, I think, if we go back to the Lean In program, empowering people,
Yeah.
it's about developing programs. I think it's very important that there's two elements. It's attracting people in, first of all, and then it's retention. And I think you do need to develop programs of work and develop and support your team to feel empowered and represented and supported, to be able to meet their own objectives, to be able to thrive in their role, and also to be cognizant of their own personal journey as well, and where they are in their life stages and career stages.
Yeah, and we see that more and more. So, you know, the era of one size fits all is gone, right? So it's about responding to where people are. And I think what really comes through from you there, it's understanding where people are at, knowing that, and then being able to act on it, right? So it's one thing knowing and saying, oh yeah, okay, you're at this stage. And then it's another thing saying, yeah, you're at this stage and this is what good support is going to look like for you now. And then still pushing people to be able to go for it as well.
Okay.
And I think the thing that's come through really clearly there is, doing your family life and all that hasn't been an inhibiting factor. It hasn't been an obstacle to your development. And in fact, it's been celebrated and allowed you to actually push on more than anything else.
Definitely, I'd agree with that. I've never felt at any point in my career that it had become an inhibitor. As you've heard, I've moved through a lot of roles, and my career and my family life have just become interwoven, really. I can't think of any time where one blocked the other.
Yeah, brilliant. So there's a don't know if everybody can see that there, but so yeah, what's really encouraging is that of everybody who took part, 38 people saying that plenty of examples of female role models in leadership positions, almost 50% with, a couple, and then look the 13% that don't have any. But actually the vast majority have somebody that they're looking up to and somebody who's doing that trailblazing. So people like you, Renee, leading from the front. Brilliant. Look, thank you so much for sharing all of that with us. I know there's a couple of questions specifically around kind of policy and that kind of stuff. We might come back to that at the end. And I'm gonna come back to you as well around maybe kind of advice for the audience and that kind of thing.
Sure.
But for now, thank you so much, and thank you for taking us through that. Really, really appreciate it. And I'm gonna have a quick chat with Maja now. So
Okay.
I will see you in a minute, Renee.
See you in a minute. Thank you very much.
So now really excited to introduce you all to Maja. So Maja, thank you very much for waiting patiently there in the wings. So much to reflect on that chat with Renee. I think we can really kind of amplify that up now. So Maja is the Human Resources Business Partner with Darta Saving Life, DAC. So ever since her early jobs in her teenage years, you've enjoyed working with people and teams. Like people are your passion. And the culture and kind of matching the culture and work environment and business strategy and all of that is definitely kind of a key piece for you. In your current role, you're doing short-term planning, you're doing long-term planning, thinking about where the business is going and how we match that from a culture point of view, making sure we're keeping that diverse culture alive in Darta, and maintaining and building on the fact that it's a great place to work. And it's thanks to people like you, Maja, that we all get to experience this and we get to have these conversations. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about Allianz Darta, the organization and your own role within it?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, thanks very much for having me today. Very happy to be here to represent Darta Saving. So Darta is actually an organizational unit of the Allianz Group. So we work in insurance business, in insurance industry. The company has been established a little over 20 years ago, and we currently have 59 employees. So we're sort of on a smaller scale, and therefore it's even more important to be very in touch with what people actually want, because it's what shapes the company culture. We cannot make very generic solutions. We have to keep our employees involved, and that's what's very important for us. So we're also a very, very diverse company. That's something we're very proud of. We have a little less than 60 people, but over 10 different nationalities. So
Wow.
you'll actually hear a bit more later one of our policies that's especially important to this regard. So yeah, we're very small, but I would say a happy community. Pretty much everyone who ever leaves the company, and that's actually not very frequent because we had less than 3% turnover this year.
Wow.
But anyway, whoever leaves company for any reason, in every exit interview we do get the feedback that the thing they're definitely gonna miss is the people and the environment, and Perhaps maybe the best proof to this regard is just to say that Darta was my first and still is the only job I've ever had in Ireland. I've never worked anywhere else, never interviewed anywhere else. It's just I was always very happy, to be around with the colleagues and the superiors. So it's truly a great place to work. And thanks for confirming that.
And the best workplace for women, right? So again, I mean,
Oh,
what's been the impact
that's
of that
especially
recognition for
important.
you
Yeah.
guys? Yeah. Has that had a good
Yeah.
impact for you?
Oh yes, actually that's extremely important benchmark, I would say, for Darta in general and for me personally, because not only that I'm a HR business partner now, but I'm a long-standing employee of the company as a female employee. I think it's significant to be recognized as a great place to work for women. For Darta, obviously, internally, we've always been striving to do our best in achieving the gender balance and fairness to all the employees. But it's also obviously great to have this external validation because if I were looking for a job right now, if I'm a woman in a job market, it would be actually very, a big thing for me to consider the company that's been confirmed as a great place to work for women. I think it's a great reputational um, mark. So we're all very proud at Darta to actually have this great place for work for women recognition.
Brilliant. So tell me a little bit. So you've come to Ireland, you've joined Allianz Darta. What's that journey
Yeah.
been like for you?
Actually, it's a funny story. So I first started as a maternity cover for a girl who was in executive PA role at the time. So this was actually my first job. I was a cover for a colleague who then returned maybe a few months later, and then she actually decided she wanted to pursue a different path in a subdivision of our operations department. And although we're quite small company, we don't have as many career path options as a bigger size company would. Darta has always been very accommodating to that regard. So it was important for me at the time to see, she just came back from maternity leave and she got opportunity to develop further, to, change her career within the company. And culturally speaking, I'm originally from Balkans region. I'm from Bosnia and Herzegovina. It's not very common, there. So actually, unfortunately, it would be more frequent from my experience and from what I've seen to see a returning mother get degraded position or sometimes even completely lose her job if there is a way around it rather than advance. So for me it was amazing and it was very motivational to see. And actually, I replicated the same career path 5 years later. So I went to my maternity leave late in 2020 from the role of executive PA. So when I returned 11 months later, I was actually, I got the opportunity to start in a human department role. The thing is, with Darta, we didn't have a HR department at the time. The services were outsourced to a sister company, and it was actually very interesting and very exciting prospect. At the same time, also a bit intimidating because there is nothing really. You're building up from the scratch, and I was supposed to be the only person there in the beginning, obviously, because there was no team yet. But I jumped onto the opportunity and I was very grateful actually to be given. And I had to say I had amazing support from our CEO and our senior management. They were all very much aware that I had to juggle both motherhood and just the transition back to work, and that I'm entirely new in the entirely new role. So they were very patient and they were very welcoming and encouraging. And honestly, I think as a young mother return to work, you're still vulnerable, even if it's the role you know very well. I think you're still trying to balance if even in your head and practically all the things. And I was just feeling very supported, and I'm still very grateful for that time.
Oh, brilliant. I'm actually again I'm gonna get our audience engaged here a little bit. I'm kind of intrigued to see what their experience or within their own organizations around the level of support people have around returning from maternity leave. So I'm just gonna launch that. People can be answering that as we're chatting. I'm quite specifically, right, like what did that look like, that coming back to work opportunity there? What did that look like for you?
For me, so the most important thing was actually just to, because I don't have the HR background, I have the legal
Yeah.
background, but just being with the company for such a long time, I knew the teams and the managers and everyone very well, and I knew the business. So for me, actually, it was quite organic, I must say. It's not something that although I was new to it, it didn't feel that new. So, and as I said, everyone was very helpful. But I was able to notice some things that, for instance, were maybe omitted at the time I was on maternity leave, just because people were not thinking of them at the time. For instance, I said we had the HR role outsourced. So while I was away, we have, for instance, some of the benefits like a share scheme that normally would be also given to female employees on family leave or on maternity leave, but this was just overlooked at the time. And then I made sure, when I started in the HR, those things are definitely in place. So we do have, special benefits to to female employees returning to work. We do offer a lot of flexibility. So that's actually what I wanted to talk about when it comes to, looking after women in the workplace. We're obviously very aware of the various roles every majority of women juggle, and how much mental load actually that brings, which really can take toll on your both mental and physical health. So we try to achieve as much work-life balance, and we try to do that with flexibility. So in our company, employees can choose their start time every day. For work, they can start either at 8, 9, or 10 a.m. in agreement with their manager. So we do have a 37-hour working week, but the start time is flexible and it really depends on internal arrangements. We do have a very flexible hybrid policy, which requires employees to spend 12 days in the office over 1 quarter, so over a 3-month period. And they're actually absolutely free to choose their dynamics. So they can either come 1 day per week, or maybe, I don't know, 3 days over 2 weeks, or whatever is their choice, really. And also from employees returning from maternity leave or family leave, this amount is actually cut in half. So they only have to do six days over a quarter. We also offer facilities for breastfeeding and breast milk pumping, and we do have regular touch-ins with everyone who is just returning back to work, making sure they feel supported, and to offer any options we can help with in that period. And also one thing that I think is very specific for Darta, we do have a work from abroad policy. That's one of two policy documents we developed in close cooperation with the employees, actually based on their feedback. And I mentioned already, we do have a lot of different nationalities in Darta and a lot of expats. So we wanted to give opportunity to people to spend a part of the year with their families or loved ones back in other countries without having to take away from their annual leave. So we do offer every employee in the company to take up to 25 working days for 5 weeks per year, work from abroad. So this doesn't count as your annual leave. This is just your regular working days. Obviously, it has to be just aligned with the team and a manager, but they can also choose how to spend it, whether in one piece or several different parts or just a few days. So we do try to support the flexibility as
Yeah.
much as possible in Darta.
And again, that kind of reflects where we were chatting with Renee earlier, meeting people where they're at, understanding what their need is, and then putting the actions and supports in place, right? So it's one thing to know
Yes,
you have a diverse group, and they're like, okay, we have a diverse group, but actually
yes,
you've
yeah,
gone that
exactly.
next step and said, given that we have that diverse group, what is it that we can do that will best support them? And like that is giving people time at home and that kind of piece. Because it's just, it's
Mhm.
crucial. And the other thing that really strikes me is the uh, opportunity that you were given to take your own experience and then build on what you had experienced, and the organization supporting, actually, yeah, okay, we take your advice, we take your experience, and here's what we're doing to make sure that we take that on and build it out as you built out the role and the function here in Ireland. Again, not just going, oh, that's great that you had that experience, but we're not going to change anything about the way that we're doing it.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And look, you can see it from the results here. Again, great to see 25% have lots of different sports in place, 47% have a standard approach. It's always that kind of concern around the 17% who don't know what's going on, or the 11% who don't have anything, right? So we've still got lots of work to do in this space. and really, really pleased that we've got people like you who can provide that source of inspiration and the reality of it. What is it that we can do, and what are the changes that we can make? Okay, so we've done a lot around the flexibility piece. Anything around the future-proofing careers? You know, what is it that you guys are doing in there? Anything interesting that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, well, we actually do, have learning and development is also very, very important for each and individual personal development plan. So we have, different ways of doing it. Since we're part of Allianz Group, we also have some things that are mandatory and that we have to report on towards the group. But again, being a small company that we are, we always place the biggest focus on individuals. So,
Right.
we don't treat everyone like, okay, obviously there's some mandatory trainings that everyone has to take. Compliance people would know this, but in each and individual case, we really do pay attention with, a specific employee and in cooperation with their manager, what they feel might be the most beneficial for their progress. And when it comes to women, we pay special attention to women in leadership. So we have various courses or often arrange the webinars or talks, trying to develop not just professional but also the soft skills and everything that might be really beneficial, not just in their current career but also anything that might be progressing. We also pay a lot of interest right now to any artificial intelligence
Oh, wow.
course,
Okay.
intelligence courses, because obviously that's coming up, it's inevitable, and we're just trying to see how that can be incorporated in best way in internal careers.
Oh, brilliant. And anything coming out of that so far, or that's still a work in progress, kind of the
It's
aim?
it's actually very, very work in progress. I would say pretty much everyone is just learning about the AI, and that's more than just using Chat GPT. So it's really a new territory for us all, but it's also very exciting to learn about it.
And again, things that we're hearing back from across the kind of client network is absolutely use ChatGPT, but please do not put any organizational data up there, because we really don't want that being trolled by
Exactly,
somebody else,
exactly.
you know. Brilliant. Okay, so I tell you what, I might bring Renee, I'm going to bring you back in, right, and we'll have a chat all
Right.
together. So again, thank you everyone for the various kind of questions and comments in the chat. Lots of support for you too. So thank you so much for sharing with us. Maja, you gave us a really good sense of what that kind of return to work looks like and flexible working options and that kind of piece. Really, there's a question from Donna around what PepsiCo is specifically doing in there. Like, what does that flexible return to work look like? Is there anything specific that you can kind of tell us about what it is that you're doing in there?
Yeah, so our flexible return to work is around phased return, delayed start times, early finish times, etc., and kind of a specific personalized plan per person. That's kind of the bones of it, really.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
sorry, it just really seems like you both have striven for and are part of organizations that look, there's lots of stuff there and available, but unless we're having the individual conversations and we're figuring out what that sport's going to look like, you can have all the lovely fancy policies in place, but you need to meet people where they're at
Mhm.
and then kind of provide that support and know that it might change over time as well, right? So different people are going to need different things at different stages.
Exactly, yeah. And the return to work policy is there, it exists, but it can be tailored to the person as well.
Yeah.
People have different needs and requests coming back in. So it's about working with them
Yeah.
within the scope of the policy to help them phase back in as optimally as possible.
Yeah. And I suppose you have the other piece where, there are people who have to be on site and that kind of thing. So you've got to make sure you're thinking about the
Mhm.
equitable offering as well, depending on what people's actually, depending on what their role is, I suppose.
That's it. Yeah. Certain roles lend themselves better to flexibility and hybrid working, etc. So it really can be role dependent as well. So, um, you know, uh, especially in large organizations, there's multiple functions, multiple roles and functions. And there is opportunity for people to move around in roles that may better suit personal circumstances based on the flexibility options available. But again, that does need to be, tailored to the role and the person.
Yeah. Yeah. Maya, I'm conscious we probably have a lot of HR professionals on the call today. And it's kind of come in a couple of different ways. any specific advice that you'd be giving them, or anything that would be really, really key that you feel that you share with them today?
Yes, well, what turns out to be the best approach for us is really to take wherever possible into account your employees when, when it comes to decision-making process. I already mentioned two of our policies, hybrid work policy and working from abroad. And these were based on employees' feedback and also just were done in close cooperation. I'm aware not everything can be done in that way, but my advice would be just to be very involved and where possible just to bring your employees into discussion. Also, when it comes to long-term strategies, obviously it's very individual and depending from company to company. And being a HR professional, I'm aware how busy your days can look. And I know sometimes there's not much time to bring anything else to the plate, to the table, but you can even start with the small things. So sometimes it doesn't have to be anything too big of an initiative. You can just maybe start with little talks and little webinars, especially if you have lots of women in your workplace, for them to be seen and recognized. Women health are great questions, which are always interesting topics. You can also team up with uh, female charities or female organizations. For instance, in our company, I remember it was very, very well received and appreciated. We teamed up with a female hygiene products provider, Riley, and so we keep their products in our bathrooms. And it feels like such a small gesture, but it had a big impact, especially in a company with lots of female employees. So, yeah, I would say just start with small steps, incorporate what you can in your everyday work, but try to aim for a long-term impact wherever possible. I think majority of women in their workplace like to be heard and seen and recognized. And also, in case you haven't yet, team up with a great places to work, and you can get amazing
Thanks,
support
Maja.
and all the advice that you might need along the way.
Thanks for that. Appreciate it. It's interesting. I saw actually during the week that Riley have teamed up with Fertility, right? So they're talking about bringing out a lot of research into both kind of people's reproductive health and fertility and that kind of piece. And they've released what they've called the red paper, as opposed to a white paper, kind of going into that experience. So it's clever, and it's great to see that discussion is out there. And again, from a workplace perspective, what those supports can look like. There's a specific question in Renee around PepsiCo's fertility benefit. I don't know if can you give us a little bit more about what that is?
I can. So the benefit is a leave of 7 days in a 12-month period, available as part of other existing leave entitlements. So it's been brought out pretty much at the same time as the other new leave benefits around surrogacy and adoption as well.
Brilliant.
Other than that, I don't have I don't have the details of it or the policy in front of me right now, but it's something I could share after. But yeah, no, there has been a lot of work done recently in I suppose drawing out the benefits in that space, and then the introduction of the carrot kind of program as well to help people and to complement those policies and to provide personalized journeys through them.
Yeah, because there's another question in about, and again, it was basically around the perimenopause and menopause policy. And, in that building of it, how do you make it fair between, it's fair for women, fair for the business, that kind of piece. But it seems like it's about moving it all along together in tandem and keeping people involved in that conversation and seeing what the need is and being able to put those supports in place.
Yeah, definitely. For any of these policies, it's around trying to learn, I suppose, from the awareness campaign that we've been running recently. That's all quite new, really. It's in the last 12 months where awareness has really kind of ramped up around menopause and perimenopause, and there's great interaction in any of the forums or discussions that we have around people sharing their experiences and understanding that they're not alone, and that it's I've really noticed people feeling way more open to talk about it in general conversation in the work environment since these awareness campaigns have come out. So they truly are beneficial. And from a PepsiCo point of view, I know there was a question on the chat there around the female support groups. So
Yeah,
we
the
do
ERGs.
have we have ERGs for called the Women's Inclusion Network, and any female empowerment programs will be run through that team, cross-functional team
Brilliant.
within our division, but linked into the broader PepsiCo global win teams as well. As I said, the focus really for this year is on peer mentoring and refreshing our peer mentoring circles, starting a multi-month program and bring it out to the front line. But there are other initiatives that we are involved in as well around the Women in STEM Awards. So
Brilliant.
PepsiCo are sponsoring that for the second year in a row, which was great. And there's also 2 leadership transformational programs launched this year as well for female associates called Lift and TLP. So a lot of associates have gone through that program in 1 year and are continue to be going through them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, there was another question in there, you know, do you feel women are treated differently depending on roles and positions and you know, depending where they are in the organization? And I suppose part of this is, well, we all live together. We all, you know, this is part of that ongoing investment in that area of the workforce.
Absolutely. No, that hasn't been my experience. Where we would find the challenges trying to bring gender parity across the functions and into functions that would traditionally be more male orientated.
Yeah.
And trying to get the balance going there in the right direction. But no, I haven't experienced, and really there wouldn't be a policy or a culture of that in Pepsi to treat people differently based on gender. So thankfully haven't seen it. So.
Yeah, and we see it in your data, right? So the data backs that up as well. It's not just a perception, it's a lived reality for people within the PepsiCo organization. Maja, I've got quite a specific one. How are you know the working abroad policy, insurance, revenue, you know, how are you managing that in its reality?
Me as a HR person, or
Yeah, I think
is that
so.
question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Well, the thing is, for me, it's actually great because this is exactly the type of work I do. I already mentioned I have the legal background, so policy work, and you know, I know it doesn't sound like fun, but honestly, to me, it is. I like actually reading the legislative materials, and I like do the and I need to do the analysis and the comparisons. So for me, it's fine. I'm also in charge of a payroll because I like doing numbers. So I'm maybe a bit of, you know, not that you're typical HR person, but I love the variety it offers me. Obviously, I like working with people the best. I like just keeping in touch with everyone, keeping my ear to the ground, what people are happy with, what they would like to change, you know, what they need. But at the same time, I enjoy just doing in all the I enjoy working in all these other dimensions of the HR that give me maybe the bigger picture of where company is going, where can we steer it up a little bit. I like especially developing the company culture. That's always very inspirational to me. Revenue, luckily, I don't deal too much with, so I'm happy about that. Obviously, that's for our finance department and the external payroll provider, but everything else that's beside the HR is, yeah, I'm enjoying it.
And were you able to apply that knowledge to your working abroad policy? Like you knew what you could do within, you know, so how long people
That's
could
correct.
stay for before
Yeah,
there were
yeah, yeah.
tax insurance implications? Okay, yeah, because somebody's
Exactly.
asking
We need to
specifically
be
about that.
mindful.
Yeah.
That's true. We need to be mindful about a specific number, not just the days a person is spread abroad, but also the number of people who can be away from residence at one's time. So that's why I'm saying we do allow flexibility to employees, but we also have to have requests ahead of time so we can figure out if there's sufficient number of employees actually in the office, and by in the office I mean in Ireland at any given time.
Yeah, brilliant. And maybe if somebody has anything more specific, they might be able to follow up with you directly around how you manage that. And
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, if anyone has any questions to that regard, I'm happy to just
brilliant.
respond later.
Ladies, thank you both so much. I told you it would fly. We're at 1 minute to 11, and I think we could keep going. And
Thank
look,
you so much.
no, and I know I speak on behalf of everybody. You can see it flooding in the comments there. You know, thank you for your openness, your honesty, what you shared with us. Really, really fascinating journeys. Usually I'd be scribbling notes, but I actually had to listen today and make sure I was on it. Yeah, no, just thank you both, and then thank you also to our own wonderful team, Great Place to Work, who make this all happen. And I just want to call out, you know, for supporting me very recently in my own return to work and phasing that and knowing what that is. I suppose everyone today, each and every one of us has a role in building these workplaces of the future, but also ones we want to be a part of right now. And it's clear from both of you prioritizing flexibility, career resilience. You know, everybody raises collectively, and we're creating stronger, more innovative organizations on the back of that. And it's thanks to people like you, Renee and Maja, that we all get to experience what it is to be like in a great place to work for all. So thank you both so much for your time. Thank you to our audience for sticking with us. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you all on the next one.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks so
Brilliant.
much.
Thanks so much, ladies.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Thank you. Bye.